I want to start with some words from the Black Lives Matter Seattle chapter, who inspired this statewide movement today. There's never been a time in American history where Black people have not lived and died under the unrelenting boot of racism and systematic oppression. If we truly want to create something that we've never had before, then we need to be willing to do things that we've never done before. Hence this statewide strike today. So here in the Met How, this valley has not always been a safe place for our community members of color to speak out openly about racism. And part of our intention now is to shift that. And those of us that are white recognize how far we have to go to right the wrongs in this community, in this nation, and begin to center the experiences of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in our community. As the organizers of this event, we want to say publicly that we are prepared to do the inner work necessary to support the leadership of BIPOC members of our community in addressing these issues if, when, and how they are ready. I'm going to hand the mic over to Sarah.
Hello, I live here in the Valley. I've been here for a year. My name is Sarah. I'm originally here from Washington, actually Wenatchee area, but I just spent the last 4 years living on my home reservation in Minnesota, where the White Earth Anishinaabe live. I consider myself a white passing Native American person, so I feel really a little out of place for the moment, but I'm going to do my best to speak from my heart on behalf of my family, who are people of color. I would like to do a land acknowledgement before any of that, though, and I wanted to find out if there were any Indigenous people here to this valley that might be able to come up and help with the land acknowledgement. With that, I want to say thank you to the original peoples of this land for us being here today. I just want to ask for permission from the spirit of this land for us to be here doing what we do in hopes that we do it in a good way while we honor the original lives that took care of this land, while we honor the people of color on our continent. So I just want to acknowledge the land here today and take a moment for everybody to do that in their own way. So thank you once again to the Metau tribe for allowing us to be here and to the land. I would like to share a story on my own behalf about what it's like to be a white passing Indigenous person, not to this land, but to this continent. And like I said, I grew up in a home that was Indigenous and white. My mother is French and Czechoslovakian, and my father is Anishinaabe, a tribal member from White Earth. You know, so I grew up with that duality between the white world and my other family, who were people of red skin, or brown skin, I should say. And one of the stories I wanted to share was about my journey home to White Earth as a white passing Native person. When I went home about 5 years ago and spent time on that land, I went there after growing up pretty much in mainstream society, except for the Indigenous side of my family, who had been really oppressed, by the missions and had really lost their identity, which is one of the reasons that I returned home. And I went there with the mentality of, I'm going to go there and I'm going to save my people. I'm going to help them. I'm going to do all of these things. And I've been going back to White Earth for a long time, but I had never lived there. And so when I went, I was very quickly humbled over the next year. It was an honor to do a lot of things It was an honor to be able to help with our tribe's foster children, doing childcare. I went to our tribal college. I spent a lot of time with relations there. But one of the things was I was just really humbled. You know, people are used to being really hard there and really fighting for their lives. So after 5 years of being there in White Earth, one of the things that I was really humbled by was that my people didn't need to be saved, and that all of the things that I wanted to bring to them were things that they've been working on for 500 years. So with that, I started to learn that what I really needed to do was ask what they need. What do you need? Because over time, like I said, the work that had already been done was so extensive and deeply ingrained that I knew hardly anything, you know? And so I share that because it's awkward to be here speaking to you today as somebody who has people of color just in my family. But also, I know that our culture is built like that. Our mainstream culture is very much that way. We have the answers, we want to offer them. And, you know, I think it's time to turn things around and start asking what is needed. And so with that, that's about all I want to say. And I thank you for allowing me to be here saying this today. I want to ask if there's anybody else in this crowd, a person of color that would like to come up and speak from their own perspective. Well, just know that that door is open, and at any time you are welcome up here to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for your raw and moving words, and for taking a moment to pay our respects to the land we are on. I would like to thank everyone who showed up today. As a white person who has only learned about the rampant racism in America, instead of experiencing it firsthand, I recognize my privilege. I recognize that my perception of this country is very different from my Black and brown neighbors. It is my responsibility to acknowledge that and to use my privilege to change that, to make this country a safe place for people of all colors. And to do so, I must look to Black people across the country and in this community. I must listen with an open mind to what they need and how I can best support them. I know that this can be an uncomfortable conversation to have, but the Black community needs our support right now more than ever. The overwhelming systemic oppression of Black people is not a Black issue. It is a human issue. It is an issue that has plagued this country for 450 years. It is an issue that requires each individual to evaluate their social programming and make serious changes within themselves. It is not an easy thing to do. It is not a comfortable thing to do. But it is absolutely essential we take this issue on as our own, whether it has directly affected you or not. So thank you for putting in the effort, and do not stop. Going to marches is just the beginning. We all need to be a part of real structural systemic change, which will take time and dedication from all of us. Please vote in November. Educate yourselves. Find online resources about how to take action and speak up for Black lives. Right now, a group is going to travel over to OMAC to join their candlelit vigil starting at 6 p.m. A large Met How presence can have a critical impact by physically showing your support for our fellow Okanagan residents. For folks that generally have positive interactions with the police, your presence could help provide important support for Black and Indigenous people of color. This is a concrete, important action you can take towards meaningful change. So please join us, and thank you.
Again, I just want to appreciate all the white people being here right now, and also wanted to mention that it is Pride Month, which, as many of you may know, started because of the Stonewall riots back in 1969. It's been 51 years since the Stonewall riots in New York City. The first person who threw a bottle to start those riots was Marsha P. Johnson, a Black trans woman. And I just wanted to mention that Black, Indigenous, and people of color who are queer, gay, transsexual, they are at a 10% higher rate of being killed by a police officer or just homicide because of hatred. So I just wanted to mention Marsha P. Johnson and the fact that she was the person, trans Black woman, that started the movement. And it's also Pride Month too. The term intersectionality, if you don't know what it means, essentially means that you are marginalized in more than one way. So being a Black woman, being a Black trans woman, it means that you're often a lot more likely to be killed by hatred or police brutality. So just keep her name in mind as we continue through Pride Month and just in general. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm just here with a quick announcement. A way that you could take a concrete action right now is pulling out your phone and writing down this person's email. Her name's Darcy Oti, and she's the way that you can get signed up to be on the Showing Up for Racial Justice chapter that gathers here in the Metau. And so if you email her at darcy.ot, her name is spelled Darcy, and her last name is Ottey, and her email is just darcy.ot@gmail.com. That is a way you can get on a list of people who will organize future events like this one and continue the conversation about how to make real structural change beyond just showing up. So I encourage you to do that, in addition to the actions Anna said, is just one way, really concrete, to start taking action on this. Thank you. And we have one last thing, and then we're going to conclude.
I just wanted to leave it open for one more invitation. Anybody else who wants to add anything that we might have forgotten while we have all of you fabulous people here?
I got a Black friend. My friend's name is Carter McBride. And I told him about this rally that's going on today over in Omak. He invited him to come with me. He said he didn't want to put his life at risk. I'm really letting that sink in. Didn't want to go to Omak today because he knew he'd be putting his life at risk.
Thanks, Rolane. And that's a great segue just for the last thing I wanted to say, which is a few words about going to OMAC. Last week, Blake and I didn't even say my name for those of you that don't know me. I'm Dea Luvon. And last week, my husband Blake and I attended the march that happened last Thursday in OMAC, and found it to be really enlivening because first, just arriving at, where the march was beginning at the OMAC Park, by the library there, and just the amount of people and the diversity there. There was a, huge presence of the indigenous community, huge presence from the Latino community, and just so many, various personalities. So many people, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people came out for the march, and it was super inspiring. But yeah, when we did round the corner to Main Street, the streets were lined with men with big guns, assault rifles. And so tonight, the organizing group over there made the decision to do a candlelight vigil in the park and not do the march because a lot of people were concerned about their safety, like Rolane pointed out. And so I would just, if you have any inkling to head over to OMAC today, I think our support and witnessing and presence and being there can lead or lend itself, encourage the feeling of safety for people there. It was super, like I said, enlivening for me last week just to feel, this number is so exciting. This number of people we have in the Met How today. I don't know, maybe 150 or 200 of us came out today. It's just my rough guess, but super exciting. And yeah, if we can get a big crew to drive over there, that would be awesome. The vigilantes do know that the protest is happening, so probably there will be some presence of those guns again today. I don't think there's going to be any, violence happening because the organizers over there are super love-based and peace-based, and because we're staying at the park, like it would have to be pretty forthright for any, conflict to happen. So I don't think that'll happen, but definitely I do foresee the presence of guns, just so you know. But I say let's do it and head on over. So yeah, we'll be leaving from the parking lot at about 5. I think maybe that's 15, 20 minutes away or something. I don't know what time it is. But thank you so much for coming. Get on the surge list to stay in touch with anything else that happens in the valley here.
I'm here at the Black Lives Matter rally in Twisp, Washington. I'm standing here with a gentleman. We're at the tail end of this Black Lives Matter rally. And I'm just wondering, do you have anything that stands out to you in particular about this event today?
I think I was really surprised to see how many people showed up. I know there's a lot of people here that believe in equality and believe all people and all colors are important, but it was still really powerful to see how many people that showed up today. Just really, I think, gave a powerful message in a really positive way. There was a lot of energy. It was nice to see the youth here. I think that's where a lot of long-term change is going to happen. I think that was pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you.